Okay, for this slide continues from previous slides. I put these slides putting three important things: create dependence, to create dependence, scarcity, importance, and non-substitutability. So for the importance, the products or the things that you control must be important for the survival and also added to the convenience. That's called importance. So these slides conclude the previous slides. That's we're talking about what create dependence. So this slide I put in the simple form so that you could understand that to create dependence need to have three important things: importance, scarcity, and non-substitutability of the things or the product that you control. So explain the role of dependence in power relationship. So when we want to talk about the interpersonal relationship or personal relationship at work, the text would use this slide, graphical illustrations of the association among individual in social network called sociograms. So in the workplace, you can see a lot of interaction happens among the individuals. This actually can just to show how dependence important in the relationship. Okay, one tool to assess the exchange of resources and dependency within the organization is social network analysis, where the social network analysis examines a pattern of communications among the members in the organization to identify how information flows between them. So in order to know how information flows between them, so some organization use social network analysis. So within a social network, when nodes communicates or exchange resources frequently, they are said to have very strong ties. So as you can see, the interactions that have the strong ties indicate strong that exchange resource frequently indicate they have very strong ties. And the difference in that, a formal organization chart shows how authority is supposed to flow, whereas a sociogram shows how resources really flow. So as you can see in the organizations, there is the formal organization charts where they draw the organization based on the positions of the employees. For example, the presidents will be on the tops, the vice presidents under the presidents, and the last level normally come from the bottom level of the organization. So that's actually explain the interactions, formal interactions that's supposed to happens, the flow of interactions supposed to happen in the organization, while the sociogram show how resources really flow in the organization. So these sociograms explain how resources really flow from one department or from one person to other. But in the organizations, especially if we want to based on organizational chart, it just showing how the authority is supposed to flow from the top to the bottoms. Normally the tops management has more authority compared to the employees at the lower level. So identify power or influence tactics and their contingency. So influence tactics, what option do they have to influence their bosses or co-workers or employees? So there are many tactics that can be used to influence their bosses or our bosses, our co-workers or employees. There are 9 power tactics. First one is legitimacy. Legitimacy is normally associated with the authority of the position that you are entitled with the position. For example, if you are a teachers or a policeman, so the position emotion that you having at that point actually carry also the power. So rational persuasions are normally based if you want to persuade others, or if you want to or you want to make sure others comply with your request. You sometimes can use rational persuasion. So using rational persuasion normally need to use logical arguments or factual evidence to make sure people submit to you or comply with your request. Inspirational appeals normally develops inspirational appeals normally you tend to exercise on others by having emotional commitment. For example, if you have the same interests, the same values, you may have these inspirational appeals. So can develop emotional commitments where others who have the same interests as you are will tend to comply with your inspirational appeals. So that's how you got this kind. You can apply this tactic on others using the same using these inspirational appeals. Or you can use consultation where you, in order to receive compliance from others, you can increase supports. For example, give them supports and then give them some helps, for example. So this part under the consultations tactics. Or you can use exchange. Exchange is referring to the rewards. You rewards others with benefit, for example, prizes, present, and so on. If you keep giving them presents, prizes, and recognition, for example, they will will in exchange comply with your request. And other tactics is personal appeals, where you asking compliance based on the friendship that you have or loyalty that you give to them. So that's a personal appeals is different from inspirational appeals. So personal appeals asking compliance based on, because you have, for example, friendships, very close friends, loyal to your to them. So this, you can use this excuse to increase power over them, or we call it using personal appeals. Or you can use type of ingratiations or ingratiating, where you use flattery, praise, or in Malay we call it bodet. So bodet is kind of how to make sure that others will comply to you indirectly. So you just try to just praise them all the time, just being their good followers. So that's what is meant by ingratitude. For example, I'll give you these photos, pictures here. Ingratitude, this is the act of ingratitude. You willing to do anything just to make sure that the people that you, or the person that you ingratiated, will indirectly or directly fulfill your wishes or your needs. So pressure is by using warning or threats or repeated demand. For example, you pressure others to follow you, you keep remind them, you keep giving them warning or trick them. So that's considered pressure. Or you can use the last 9 tactics is coalitions, where you list the aid of support of others to persuade target to agree. For example, you provide, this is actually what you have done to others, so this is your contributions. This is actually to persuade targets to agree to your request or to your claims. However, some tactics are more effective than the others. Among all the 9, not all are actually effective. Some tactics are more effective than others. For example, rational persuasions, inspirational appeal, and consultations are more effective when the audience, or when the people that you want to comply with is actually highly interested in the outcome. If the audience are interested in the outcome, then you can use rational persuasion, inspirational appeal, and consultations. If you use pressure, that means you threat others, you give them warning, it actually can be backfired, can negatively affect. They may respond in vengeance, or they may do bad things to you. So do not try to use pressure, because it will have a negative effect on you. Both ingratiations and legitimacy, however, can lessen the negative reactions from appearing to dictate the outcome. What is meant for appearing to dictate the outcome? Because sometimes if we want something from that person, if we ask directly, it seems like we are dictating them to give us what we want. So by using ingratiations and legitimacy can lessen the negative reactions, because some people cannot receive a direct order. For example, they prefer to they do not like to be dictated. They do not like to receive orders to do something. So by using ingratiations or legitimacy will lessen the negative reactions from appearing dictating the outcome. So that's why it's meant to use ingratiations and legitimacy to lessen the negative reactions of appearing dictating the outcome. So this actually preferred power tactics by influence the direction. So if we want to talk about which of the 9 tactics that are useful, we can look from the directions of the influence. For example, we can use, if we want to use upward influence, this tactics is considered effective. If we want to use downwards influence, all these tactics are more effective. If we want to use this lateral influence, all these tactics are more effective. So upward influence, downward influence, and lateral influence. For example, for upward influence, rational persuasions, I mean using facts, rational persuasion, rational judgments, rational explanation can be more effective if you want to persuade your boss, or if you want to persuade someone higher in terms of position than you. So if the employees want to persuade the managers, they need to use rational persuasion. But if the manager or top management want to persuade their employees, lower level employees, they can use, for example, rational persuasions, inspirational appeals, pressure, consultation, invitation, exchange, legitimacy. So for downward influence from the top to the bottom, that means from the managers to the employees downwards, these are actually the tactics that are useful. For lateral influence, these are actually rational, can be used. Lateral influence is the influence based on the same level. For example, in the organizations, employee of the same levels or manager of the same level, if they want to influence, or if they want to influence their colleagues of the same level, they can use these rational persuasions or consultation, invitation, exchange, legitimacy, personal appeal, or coalition. So I use this slide to show you the direction of influence. For example, for upward influence, that's mean from the lower to the top. So if the employees want to influence the manager, they use the upward influence. This is lateral influence, is from the same side, from the horizontal level. But from vertical level, from bottom to the tops, this called upward influence. But from tops to the bottoms, this called downwards influence. So there are different tactics need to be used if they want to influence or persuade others, depend on whether it is upwards, lateral, or downwards. So lateral is basically in the same level of horizontal level. Upwards is based on in the organizations, in terms of hierarchy, those at the lower level or bottom level. Lateral based on the same level, for example, the same level of employees or the same level of the managers. If they want to persuade others at the same levels, they need to use tactics that are listed under lateral, for example. So that's how tactic can be used So we start with the rational persuasions. Rational